So like it's been mentioned, our topic this month is Love Binds Us All. And that phrase, I'm sure, is familiar to many of you, especially to our friends and guests who are here from Wellspring this morning. I want to welcome all of you. Their parking lot flooded and is impassable, so they canceled their service, and that's why we have the blessing of their presence here today. So welcome to all of you from Wellspring. You know that song, yes. Thank you for being here and choosing to be with us this morning. The song, Love Binds Us All, is one of Nancy Ritchie's favorite songs, and I love the song, and when I first heard it, I thought of the meaning of it being that it is what connects us all. It's what holds us all together. And yet, as I had that topic come through for this month, and I started pondering this idea of love binds us all, I realized the word bind can also mean restrict. And so I thought, well, isn't that an interesting idea to think that love also might restrict us? And so many of you, especially the Wellspring crew, know that I look into the dictionary often. And so I went into the dictionary to look at what does bind actually mean. And I was surprised to find over 20 different ways that we can use that term to bind. And so as I went through and read all the different ways, and this was actually the dictionary on my phone, so I don't know where it's really from, but it was the one on my phone. I started thinking about love in front of all of these meanings. So as I share some of them with you, think about that. Think about how it is that love might bind us in this way. The first one is the one that I think we were picturing when we heard that song, if anybody heard the song or heard the first phrase. To fasten or secure with a band or a bond. And so in that way, we are fastened or secured together with a bond. The third meaning was to swathe or bandage, as in to bind one's wounds. So picture love binding us and being that which swathes or bandages our wounds. Isn't that a beautiful picture? The seventh one was to unite by any legal or moral tie, to be bound by a contract. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more as we move on through this morning. The ninth one also is to place under obligation or compulsion. 12 and 13 is to fasten or secure with a cover, or to cover as if to protect, like to bind a book. And again, to picture love being that which protects us, which covers us, I thought was a beautiful image. And 15 was a medical use, to hinder or restrain to help in the healing, like to bind your arm to your body so you can't move it while it's healing. And then 19 was the one that I was also wondering about, which is to chafe or to restrict. And so we're going to look at all of these ideas. And I thought as I went through that, this idea of love binds us all really fleshed out, really became deeper for me. Because last month, what we were looking at, and many of the New Thought churches were looking at the first 4 chapters of the Science of Mind textbook. That's the tradition, to go through those and see what Ernest Holmes had to teach. So we were looking at the thing itself and how it worked, and the thing being God or spirit, or as we heard in our reading, God and love are synonymous. So how does love work? What is love itself, and how does it work? And one of the things that Ernest Holmes has brought to us in his teaching, and so has most of the New Thought, all of the New Thought teachings, is they've taken the idea of God being something way out there that we have to please, that we beseech, that we beg, and we try and become worthy of. And it's brought God within us and all around us. It's brought God out of the personhood of a man in the sky, or as I say, the guy in the sky, and made it that energy, that essence of who we are, the life force itself. And so essentially then, love is within us and all around us. It is who we are. And just like the creative process works by moving in and through our thoughts and that mold that we create within our thinking and our belief system, so love does the same thing. And sometimes our thoughts are the filter that creates something that we like and we enjoy. And sometimes our thoughts and our beliefs end up creating things that don't feel so good, or that maybe we don't like. And love, being synonymous with God, essentially works in our life in the same way. So imagine, if you will, that we put love through the filter or through the thinking of there's not enough. I'm not lovable. Or we put it through the filter of fear. This person is behaving different, they look different, they might dress different or act different, and that creates fear. I'm scared of this difference. And so what happens when love is moving through that filter of fear? Often then that's when we get the judgment. That's when love binds in a very restrictive way. And it also creates what we sometimes call controlling behaviors. Imagine, if you will, the parent who loves their child, but the child starts looking different, behaving different than what we would like them to do. And so out of our love, we start trying to restrict their behavior. We start trying to control that behavior. Now, that can also take place between us and our significant others and people in our communities, people we work with. And so in that sense, love is leading us to give itself through us in the way that we feel is right, the way that speaks to us, the only way that we know it, and we're not opening up to a broader sense. So I'm going to give you another example of how this works. I brought this beautiful pair of shoes with me. These are my favorite shoes. You can tell they've been well worn. They actually were white once. And I wear them at home all the time, and I wear them in the yard as well as around the house. They support me. I can slip them on and off really easily. They are comfortable. I've had them for quite a long time. They're about a size 9.5 women's. And because I love you all so much, I'm going to make a pair just like this and give one to every one of you for you to wear. I'm getting some strange looks. Well, just suppose I actually did that. How many of you would actually be able to fit into these and wear them? We have about 3 or 4 or 5, okay. Now, of those of you who could fit into them, how many of you would want to wear them? Because I'm not going to give them to you brand new white, I'm going to make them look just like this. A couple, good. So out of the entire group, we have about 3 people who that would fit. Now, I'm not going to be giving you shoes, and my point isn't really about shoes, but I wanted to give you a sense of what it's like to experience a place where we don't spend a lot of time worrying about what size somebody else is wearing. How many of you spend a lot of time concerned about the size of shoe that the people around you is wearing? And how many of you want everybody to wear the same size shoe as you have on? So we're able to let that go. In fact, we expect people to go find shoes that fit, that aren't flopping around too big or that aren't binding because they're too tight. We expect people to find the shoes that fit. But when it comes to our belief systems, when it comes to the way we think life should be lived, we're not as open about accepting all the different things that fit all the people around us. Ernest Holmes said that we were to be open at the top and that we honor the many paths to the one truth. And one of the things that I think is a truth is that everybody, no matter what size shoe they wear, no matter how they express their belief system, everybody wants love in their life. Everybody wants to experience love on some level and to have love in their life. And that usually also means that they want to be able to give love. They want to be able to express love. This month in the Science of Mind magazine for February 2015, there is an article in here that is about Reverend Savannah Riker, and it's called The Sacred Amidst the Shadows. And 4 years ago, she was in Egypt for the Arab Spring when it happened. And it says this story is an eyewitness account of the beauty and the shadow that is Egypt and how it felt to be in sacred service through the uncertainty and the fear. And one of the things that she said when she was asked what it was like to try and bring the Science of Mind teachings to Egypt, she says, "I have to grin. I feel that it's not through starting a spiritual center in Egypt that will make the difference. In this country, religion most often consists of Sunni Muslims, Coptic Christians, and a small percentage of Sufi and sects of Islam. It is not through bringing out our jargon, the fancy use of our words or knowledge of a philosophy, religion, and the science of mind verbiage. It is simply through our dedication to being a place of love, light, radiance, peace and acceptance everywhere we go, to whom we meet, that makes the difference. And I thought that she said that really well, because she was definitely in a place where she wasn't among like-minded people. And yet all she needed to do was be that center, that place where love was able to be expressed through her in a way that is looking for and seeking how it might meet them feeling loved from it. So let's consider then putting love through that filter, a different filter. The filter that says there is enough. The filter that says I am lovable. And the filter that says I am love expressing. When love moves through that filter, then your differences just make me more curious. I become intrigued by the things that are different between you and I. And I'm inspired to get to know you and to understand you. It's a whole different feel when love moves through that kind of a filter. It opens us up to all the diverse ways that God expresses. In my family, as you all know, there's a lot of diversity. My brother is a Sikh. And the Sri Singh Sahib, who brought the Sikh tradition to this country, said, "Love is the ultimate state of human behavior, where compassion prevails and kindness rules." So I believe that on a metaphysical level, love does bind us all, and it binds us through those different definitions. It unites us with a moral tie. It places us under an obligation and a compulsion, and it is actually restraining or restricting us on a deeper level that actually allows for healing to take place. So let's look at that and see what that looks like. In our reading that Barbara gave us, the last phrase is God is love and love is God. And so I want to read to you, and I'm so excited to bring out for the first time my new Science of Mind textbook that's not falling apart, thanks to the gift that I received on my installation. Yay, thank you. I was very excited to finally have this, so I can actually see the lines. This is a paragraph that Ernest Holmes is talking about unity. And so I want to take every word that he uses that refers to the source, to God, and we're going to put in the word love and see how this idea of unity sounds through that idea of God. Reason declares that that which is infinite, so God, cannot be divided against itself. The infinite is, or God is, therefore, indivisible and consequently a perfect unit. It is, love is, also that whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. So love is that place whose center is everywhere and whose circumference, in other words, it doesn't end. Its circumference is nowhere. All of it, or love, is present at any and every point within itself. It is not approaching a point nor receding from it, but is always at the point. The whole of God, or the whole of love, is present at any and every point within love. It was to this indwelling spirit that Jesus prayed, for God is within all of us as well as throughout all creation. So again, if we think of Jesus praying to love, because that is what is in and through all of creation, it is that thread of the all-sustaining beauty which runs through all and doth all unite. There is no place where God is not. In other words, there is no place where love is not. So when we think about it that way, love is expressing in and through us, just as God is expressing in and through us. And so we are under that sacred contract, that sacred obligation to be that love in the world. And when love is that which restricts us, it is actually restricting our actions with love. It is restricting our interactions and our thoughts, and therefore healing takes place. Now, I know this all sounds real nice and good, but it's a matter of how do we apply it, and I think that's what really counts. So give me a second. Something that's familiar to our Wellspring friends as well as our community here is our community commitment. Because I brought this commitment from Wellspring, where Reverend Sam has adopted it from the commitment which is written by Dr. Michael Rice. And he made it expansive to a community instead of just to a couple between two people who've committed to each other in love. And so this commitment has been read at the board meetings at Wellspring for many years and their program task force. And since I've been here, we've been reading it at our board meeting as well. It's also hanging out on our gratitude board. And when you come on February 22nd to our annual meeting, you will all get a copy of this commitment. But I want to go through it step by step because I think this community commitment is a beautiful example of how it is that we are under a contract, a sacred contract of love, and how we can interact with that between each other. So the first sentence, we commit to treating each other lovingly, gently, and with respect in our thoughts, words, and actions, whether in each other's presence or not. So right off the bat, the way we behave with each other is loving, gentle, and with respect. And it comes through everything, through our thoughts, our words, and our actions. But the next piece is what really got me when I first heard this, whether in each other's presence or not. Now, at that time, I was in a relationship that wasn't so fun for me, and so I wasn't always speaking kindly of the person I was supposed to be loving. And that really hit me, as this works not just when we're each other's face to face. We're all together here and we put on our best face, and so we speak lovingly of each other. But it's important under the sacred contract of being love in the world that we speak lovingly, gently, and with respect, even when we're not in each other's presence. So this applies not only to us as individuals in our personal lives, but to us as the center, to Wellspring, and our relationship, how we speak about each other when we're not in each other's presence. Loving, gently, and with respect. We promise to touch each other, to trust each other enough to speak the truth in love. And that line was really important to me because it means that we're not just rolling over and whatever happens, I'm just going to be love, love, love all the time. But if something happens that I'm not happy with, I promise to trust the other person and speak my truth in love. Now again, if love is what's binding my speech, it's going to look very different than if it's coming through a different filter. In every interaction, we commit to affection, to look for and acknowledge the highest and best in each other, and to surrender to love, our true nature. So there is that recognition that love, God, Spirit, that is our true nature. That's who we are. And we're looking then for the highest and best expression of that in each other as we interact and when we don't interact, when we're outside of each other's presence. Our connection to our source, and we understand that to be God or love, our connection to our source, our relationships, and our serenity will always be more important than any issue. And that was another line that really spoke to me because I realized, and I was learning at that time, how these issues, in my mind today, are just the toys, the things that show up for us to play with as we practice this sacred covenant of being love. So the issues aren't the issue. The issue is how do we allow that connection with Source and our relationship and our serenity to be what guides us, to allow love to be what binds us. We then open our hearts to embrace each other in love. And that's very different than the filter of fear that closes our hearts. We're opening our hearts to embrace each other. And if anything unlike love comes up, we hold the other in our heart and listen. And that was another one that really spoke to me, because that's acknowledging that sometimes what shows up doesn't look or feel like love the way we would like it to look and feel. And so when that happens, under this sacred contract of love, we hold the other in our heart and listen. Now notice it didn't say listen to the other person. It could mean that, but it says hold the other in our heart and listen. So to me that means we go within. We take the situation within and we listen to what love has to say in that situation, to what God or Spirit has to say, in addition to what the other person has to say. We promise to keep communication open and keep love conscious, active, and present as we celebrate life and grow together. So that means, as our sacred contract together to be love, that we are keeping that love part of our frontal memory, not just some way back here memory. It's conscious, active, and present at all times. And how different the world would look if love bound us to that contract at all times. And so, like I said, we will be recommitting as a community to that commitment on February 22nd, and Wellspring will be doing the same thing next weekend when they have their annual meeting. We will all be committing to this sacred contract of love between us and every other human being on this planet, not just our spiritual communities, but everybody that we meet. We are to be that love that is present. And when we do that at our annual meetings, we will also be bringing to you the goals that have come out of that sacred contract of love for where it is we want to see us take the centers, how it is we might be coming closer together, how that might look. We will be talking about that. And we will be talking about the budgets that support those goals. So please come. I'm putting in a huge plug here, but please come and be a part of that creative process. Seated in, rooted in that community commitment to being love in the world. In this way, then, we can see how it is that love really and truly does bind us all. Because the idea of separation, not being bound together, it's that belief, or when we start to feel that we're in separation, that creates the fear, that creates the judgment, that brings about unhappiness or a feeling of being stuck. And it's through that fear that we start to want to control others in a way that isn't as healthy. And so when love actually binds us all, our speaking is bound in love. Our thinking is bound in love, and our acting is bound by love. Reverend Riker also said in this article, when we are able to meet people right where they are, standing in truth, love, harmony, freedom, tolerance, acceptance, and compassion, we will move the world with our conviction of love and radiance. Essentially, that's the key, to just be able to stand in that place of love. So we are a center of love without a circumference, each one of us. And we take that center of love with us out into the world without that circumference. And as we do that, we do a lot of the things that she talked about as her way of bringing these principles to the people in Egypt. We do that here. We do it instead of proselytizing and forcing everybody to wear 9.5 size shoes. We do it through being involved in sacred service, through the sacred contract of love. We do it through teaching meditation, self-empowerment, and leadership of self-awareness skills. And she says, we humbly learn so much about the culture and the religion of others, or the beliefs, or the life, however, whatever you want to fill in there. We learn that so much that we start to find where the Science of Mind teachings might add to one's faith, strengthen it, and bring more light into dark places, building on ancient truths with their own belief systems. And so those ancient truths, I think, are love. That idea that we want love. So this is not only the center for spiritual living. We are centers of spiritual living. We are centers of love, like I said, without a circumference. And that love works in and through us just the way God does, just the way the creative process does. It shows up based on whatever filters we're putting it through, whatever beliefs we have about how love can show up in our life. And love then does for us what love can do through us. Love can only do for us what love can do through us. And so I'm going to read, to close, from one of the more traditional, well-known writings on love, which comes out of the Christian scriptures written by Paul in 1 Corinthians 13, because I think he said it really well. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not love in my heart, I become a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have faith so that I could move mountains, we could move those Oregon mountains, and have not love in my heart, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not love in my heart, I gain nothing. Love is gentle and kind. Love does not envy. Love does not make a vain display of itself and does not boast, does not behave itself unseemingly, seeks not its own, is not easily provoked, and thinks no evil. Love does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. Love never fails, but whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish. For we know in part now, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, and I would put in there, when love comes, because that is what is perfect. When that which is perfect comes, then that which is imperfect shall come to an end. And now abide faith, hope, love, these three, but the greatest of these is love. And so just take a moment and let's go within. Let's move to that heart center, that space that we open, and allow yourselves to feel that love. Feel your center of love. And feel it radiating out from you, knowing that there is no circumference, no end. Just allow that to radiate out through you. Allow yourself to be filled with that feeling of love. Remember that love is our true nature. And now, in accordance with our sacred contract, the love that binds and connects all of us, if there's anyone in your life right now, or any interaction that feels unlike love, allow yourself to bring that within your heart space. And if you don't have any experience like this going on, then just sit in gratitude. But anything that shows up unlike love right now, just bring into your heart and listen. And as you begin to bring your awareness back into this room, know that love is now active. Love is conscious, and love is present. Because God is all there is, and love is all there is. And so it is.